You're listening to another podcast from Education.AU.
Mark Pesce has kindly agreed to facilitate this afternoon, and it's my great pleasure to be able to hand over to Mark in a moment. But just a little bit of background to Mark's, Mark's known internationally as the man who fused virtual reality with the World Wide Web to invent the virtual reality modelling language. Mark is the author of 5 books, including The Playful World, How Technology is Transforming Our Imagination, and numerous articles writing for such publications as Wired, Salon and The Age. For the last 3 seasons, Mark has been a panellist on the ABC show The New Inventors, and from 2003 to 2006, he chaired the Emerging Media and Interactive Design program at the world-renowned Australian Film and Television Radio School. And last year he received an appointment as an honorary associate at the University of Sydney, and has gone on to found Future Street, a Sydney media and technology consultancy. So as I said, Mark will facilitate both the panel session and also the workshop. So I'm now going to very gladly hand across to Mark. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Am I? Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you had a nice lunch. We're going to take a turn, and unfortunately Jimmy snuck back in because I wanted to say something out of earshot, which was that we've been very sweetness and light all morning, peace, love, and understanding, and that's good. That's the thing that we work toward. There are other forces in play, particularly as we roll out a technology that revolutionizes the way we come to know things. I am, and you'll get this over the course of my brief presentation, I'm pretty much a strict constructivist. So the acquisition of knowledge and the way knowledge is acquired, I believe actually is a foundation stone in the ontology of a child, the ontology of an adult, the ontology of an organization. And so that means that when you change the way you learn things, you actually change the entire organism. And that's going to create some interesting issues, and I want to start to just highlight a few of those. So the 3 points that are going to swirl in this world that we're entering as we get into an era where there is pervasively peer-produced knowledge sharing. The 3 tugging points, and you can already see them now in the questions that get asked, in the takedown pieces that showed up in the Sydney Morning Herald on Saturday and in the Australian this morning, asking the same questions about Wikipedia. Is it valuable? Is it truthful? Can you trust it? Is it an authority on anything? These questions aren't going to go away. And they come down to these 2 points. What is the truth, and who do you trust? And in general, throughout the Enlightenment, we considered these separate qualities. You can trust people, but you wouldn't necessarily expect the truth from them, or you can know things that will be truthful, but they may not come from authorities that are trustworthy. Depends, all right? We didn't consider them as being linked in any sort of fundamental way. Well, now we get into different forms of knowledge organization, different forms of knowledge formation. And as we get into those forms of knowledge formation, we start to change the way we assess, critically, the way we come to learn things. So what I've done now, in consulting with the other folks at Education.AU, what I want to show you is that there are a lot of different approaches to knowledge sharing wikis. So Wikipedia is one example, and arguably the archetypal example. And so what I did was I looked up the same factoid in 4 of these different wikis. And the thing that I learned comes back to an old quote from Mark Twain. It's not what you know, it's what you know that ain't so. So this whole idea of knowledge acquisition and being able to test the waters of truth and trust and authority in knowledge acquisition, as knowledge becomes more pervasively available, becomes a central facet of the culture and a central aim of the educational process. So here's the Wikipedia entry on kangaroo. Pretty much normal, kangaroo, marsupial, blah, 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 blah. That's the first paragraph of it. Nobody's wrong with that. It's probably been worked over a few thousand times, massaged, so on and so forth. Now, Wikipedia represents a distributed authority. There's no one person making Wikipedia true. the goal of making Wikipedia true is something that emerges from the interaction of all the participants in the community who are constantly adding, revising, deleting, so on and so forth. So the authority of Wikipedia relies on the fact that that system works. It does work, but it's distributed. So in America, for example, one of the first things an American might think about is, if there's bad data in here, who do I sue? Right? And you can't point at anything. It's a cloud. So that makes some people very nervous, because this idea of distributing authority and the generation of knowledge is something that we're not particularly used to. All right, then we go to Britannica. And this is, I think, from the second paragraph of the Britannica entry. Again, gives you lots of good information and says you've got to get the full article with a free trial. Now, Britannica went online in 1999 while I was writing The Playful World, and I was in ecstasy because the definitive reference source in the English language went online, and it was amazing, and I was using it frequently, and there's even a chapter about Britannica being online in the book, because I realized that this was going to revolutionize ontology, that the universal access to children and adults of the gold standard for knowledge in the English language was going to change the way we came to know things. And in fact, Britannica was so powerful that 72 hours after it launched, the servers that it had collapsed because it was under such a heavy load. They bought a bunch more servers, went back online, and proceeded to lose money hand over fist, even though they had one of the most popular sites on the internet. Don't ask me how. I just know that this happened. And of course, Britannica is now behind a wall. You can get to some of the articles on Britannica. But what Britannica is promising you for that $6.95 US a month is that there is an authority, and that authority is centralized. It is not distributed. Britannica is the arbiter of the truth. That's a very old model, basically emergent with the, say, scientific revolution. And it's a trustworthy model. And what they're saying to you is that if you want access to the centralized model of authority for determining the truth, you're going to give us your money.